This is going to be a very brief lecture on scientific notation. And I'm sure that you have used this before in other classes. Scientific notation essentially is a way to write either very large numbers or very small numbers without having to write all the zeros. Okay, so let me give you a few examples and kind of explain how to do this. The first example is the sun is 93 million miles away from the Earth. Okay, so this is a big, large number with a lot of zeros. So in order to write it in scientific notation, what we do is we take the decimal point wherever it is, and we move it until it only has one number in front of it. So in this case, we're going to move it to the left 7 places. Okay, so that would leave me with 9.3. And because I moved it 7 places to the left, I'm going to say that I multiply that times 10 to the 7th. When you have 10 to the power of 7, that's like saying 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 7 times. So you're taking a small number and you're multiplying it by a large number to get a bigger number. Okay. Now we can also use an example of where we have a really, really extremely tiny number and we want to write it in scientific notation. So the size of an atom is 1 angstrom, which is 1 times 10 to the negative 10th. So that would be 1 times 10 to the negative 10th meters. Okay. So if I wanted to look in this number in its decimal form instead of in its scientific notation form, I would do the opposite as I did up here. I move my decimal, and then I multiply it times 10 to the power of 7. Here, I have a 1. I'm going to put it over here. And I'm going to move my decimal 10 places to the left. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm running out of room there. Okay. So the number is actually, we're going to fill all of those in with zeros. So the number is actually 0.0000000001 meters. Okay, is the same as 1 times 10 to the negative 10th. All right, so let me just give another example. Let's say we had like 0.0876. Okay, to put that in scientific notation, again, I move the decimal so there's only one number in front of it. So I go 1, 2 places to the right. And so I would have 8.76. And since I moved to the right, it's going to be times 10 to the negative 2. Okay, so up here, I move to the left, so I have a positive number. Down here, I move to the right, so I have a negative power. Okay. Now, we're going to be using scientific notation a lot, and we're going to have to be able to plug it into our calculators and multiply and divide in scientific notation. So I'm just going to kind of show you how to properly do that on your calculator. Okay? So let's say we have two numbers. We have like 8 times 10 to the 6th. And I want to multiply that number. I'm going to put in parentheses. I want to multiply that number by, let's say, 2 times 10 to the 8th. Okay. Now, in order, I could do this in my head, and really the easy way to do this is the first thing that you do is you multiply the first two numbers. So we know 8 times 2 is 16. And then you add the exponents to the power of 10. So that would be 16 times 10 to the 14th. But that doesn't put it in correct scientific notation, right? I've got two numbers here. I should have a decimal here. Well, to move the decimal one more place to the left would add another number here. So it's 1.6 times 10 to the 15th, actually, in correct scientific notation. But let me show you how to punch this into a calculator, okay? Now, there's a special button on the calculator that makes this really easy, okay? Now, if you were going to punch it in, a lot of kids want to do this. They would take 8, let me put it up a little bit further. So they would do 8 times, and then they want to do 10 exponent 6, okay? And that, will give you what that number means. However, when you hit the multiplication, then you have to multiply it by the next number, and that's where you start to run into trouble. So there is a cheat on the calculator in order to make the calculator think that the scientific notation is just one number, and that is this button right here, the EE button. Okay? So if I wanted to punch in 8 times 10 to the 6th, instead of having to do like I just did, 8 times 10, and then this button to the 6th, all I have to do is hit 8 and hit this EE button, and you see these two little zeros pop up, and I just hit 6. Okay? So that means 8 times 10 to the 6th, and it just treats it like it's one number. So now I can multiply that by 2 EE to the 8th, hit equals, and I get my answer, 1.6 times 10 to the 15th. Okay? Let's just try one more example. Okay? So let's say I have 16 times 10 to the negative 4th, and I want to divide that by, let's say, 4 times 10 to the negative 6th. Okay? Now again, I could do this in my head. Okay? In order to do it in your head, up here, we multiplied the first two numbers and then added the exponents to get 16 times 10 to the 14th. Down here, I'm going to divide the first two numbers, so that gives me 4, and then I subtract the exponents. Well, that gives me negative 4 minus a negative 6, so negative 4 minus a negative 6 is really plus a positive 6, right? So my answer should be 4 times 10 to the 2nd. Okay? Now let's punch it into the calculator. Okay? So I have 16 EE, and then I would hit negative 4. Oops, there's kind of a glare there. Let me move it over a little bit. And then divide that by 4 EE to the negative 6. Enter. And I get 400, which is 4 times 10 to the 2nd. Okay? And we'll be doing a lot of practice with this on a math worksheet in class, so you'll get to practice and get the hang of it and learn how to use your calculator.